And we are very thankful for this invitation to discuss how artificial intelligence can be developed for good and for everyone. We want to model genocide. So we're using artificial intelligence as a tool. Let me explain. I'm a physics professor at the University of São Paulo. And just to tell you where I'm coming from, I did my PhD at Caltech, then I went to Carnegie Mellon as a postdoc in theoretical physics of complex systems. And neural networks were a part of what is considered a complex system. So I do the theory and not the applications so much. Now that I'm older, I do some applications. With Luis Moreno Ocampo, we have established a project at the University of São Paulo, combining my experience in the physics of complex systems and its unprecedented practice on international relations and law. Without changing the international legal frame, we want to model the global order functioning, aiming by understanding it in a mathematical way to contribute to the protection of everyone. Our pilot project is about genocide, starting on what happened in Nagorno-Karabakh. We plan to work in the future on climate change, stopping wars between nations, and modeling international terrorism and organized crime. So we are not very humble. Yeah? We celebrate the idea to create this AI Latin American knowledge hub. We are planning to create a network of we are collaborate in creating a network of Latin American institutions, public and private, collecting and processing basic data, organizing the education of students, and collecting data about victims of organized crime. We will be delighted to find ways to cooperate with each one of you. We must celebrate the timing of these meetings. We are at the beginning of a paradigmatic change on how humanity interacts. Traditionally, physics deals with atoms, molecules, electrons, and their spin and collective properties. And it goes to planets, stars, galaxies, black holes. So it might be as a surprise that now it has expanded to deal with information and complexity in a way that has redefined the meaning of prediction, which started with Newton a few centuries ago. In 2021, Giorgio Parisi, here from Rome, got the Nobel Prize in Physics. And in 24, John Hopfield and Geoffrey Hinton received the Nobel Prize in Physics for the work on the neural networks. We don't like to say artificial intelligence because I don't know what intelligence is. So I say machine learning and neural networks and things like that. So I'm careful. I'm a mathematical physicist, so I have to be careful. Yeah. Parisi's work inspired a generation to work on complex systems. Hopfield showed how to describe mathematically aspects of brain functioning. So you can think with a materialistic thing, which doesn't take away from humanity, but his models show that you could model brain functioning. And Hinton made crucial contributions to develop artificial intelligence. During my last 30 years, I worked with theoretical aspects of neural networks, and more recently, used them to understand basic dynamics in society. I studied, among other things, the dynamic of discrimination in a society of neural networks, the impeachment process, or not, of presidents in Brazil by looking at the dynamics of the Congress. And also, we have studied with my students how the judges in the Federal Court of Appeals in the United States have become more political in the last 70 years. Following Luis' advice, I will not show details of my research, no equations, so okay, forgive me for that. But I would be delighted to provide information to those that are interested. To finalize, let me offer a very simplistic explanation of the three aspects of our model on genocide. First, data collection, and this is something that Luis Moreno Ocampo is involved. The project identifies a specific problem, which then once the problem is identified, we identify the actors that are involved in this conflict. These are the actors. Armenia, you can read it there. There are the regional actors and the global actors. Of course, the United States is there. And you can, so once you identify the actors, you identify what moves these actors to act in a manner or another. So you identify, and this is done by specialists, so you gather information from them. And the strategic factors are, for example, the relevance of Azeri oil, Azeri arms, Azerbaijan harassing Armenia, Armenia harassing Azerbaijan. So these are things that matter to the actors. And then we gather information. And this is a matrix. And I'm sorry, I'm the first one to show a matrix, but I did it in colors, so I don't offend people like Luis, okay? Yeah, he's advised to do it in color. And this is a quantification of the strategic factors. And from this, we can build another matrix, which is the matrix of interactions of the actors. And this is essentially the matrix of interactions of a Hopke model, which is the model that got the Nobel Prize last year. But we go a little bit beyond this because we don't do a traditional Hopke model. The units here will be large language models, which are trained with a given cost function. Okay, so once the actors have been defined, the data bank is done. We train the LLMs, and we put them in a conversation in a theater. And questions and prompts are given by experts. And then comes the ingredient, the new ingredient, which is to make a calculation of the phase diagram, which is on the bottom left of this diagram, which shows what are the different collective phases of this model. And then this generates reports and risk analysis. Okay, no, wait a second. No, thank you, I don't, okay. So the thing is that we can identify which are the factors and the evaluation of the factors that can lead to a new state, which is more favorable to the coexistence of factions without involving war. Okay, so now I thank you and I yield to Luis.
With no equations, conversation. But I think that's a joke because I really cannot understand exactly what he's doing. He makes some magic, but I feel his magic is helping us to move from prescription on debating what artificial intelligence should do to do it. So he's offering us a chance to do it, to put a model of artificial intelligence at the service of people. And I hope we can help him to do it better. My contribution to him is trying to describe how is the legal system working. And in that sense, my first idea is, okay, legal architecture, that's my contribution also for this meeting. I think we are missing the legal architecture of the world because it's almost invisible, yet it is a matter of life or death. Law determines who the decision makers are in launching war, on climate agreement, and on controlling terrorism. So at the international level, national leaders could choose what law what international law they apply or not apply. That's different at the national level. Because technology connects humanity, but yet we're still politically divided into 193 sovereign nations. So, and there is no global authority to protect nations. That's why Nestor work to be helpful to help us to coordinate different actors with different agendas and different rules. The absence of global political authorities contributes to a complex global order system. Example, 5 countries with veto power at the UN Security Council are responsible for maintaining international peace and security. When Russia vetoed the resolution ordering the Security Council resolution ordering Russia to withdraw from Ukraine, or US veto resolution ordering Israel a ceasefire, they are legal decisions. The vetoes are legal. That's the problem we have in the global level. Nations can veto resolution. Some nations can veto decisions. That's why we need a complex analysis to understand this. It's peculiar because the 5 countries in charge of the peace of the world are also the producer of the majority of the world weapons. And today we're watching some of the leaders of those 5 countries are using war to manage their conflict. And Ms. Carr today, she promised, okay, US is planning to do a war with China to protect our freedom. Whoever survived to the last war with China and US will be free of speech. Let me present, because the Pope is talking about the marginal and the displaced. And we talk about injustice in our national system, but we are ignoring and denying what happened with the 4 displaced people. Those who survived wars and genocide escaping from their country. And look at the curve. Today, the world, at the end of 2024, there are 123 million people displaced, forcibly displaced. The fight between the US and Russia about Syria was a critical moment in 2011, for the moment that peaked. Why it happened? Why we are denying these people? My feeling is, and that will be my contribution to the debate here, we talk here about legal, moral duties, but the problem is military commanders, political leaders, CEOs face conflicting political, ethical dilemmas. And how do they prioritize? And I'd like to present to you what I learned in my practice. I was the prosecutor in Argentina against the military juntas. I learned about the generals. Then, as the chief prosecutor in the National Criminal Court, you can see a movie in Amazon about my junta trial. But let's show you what I feel is critical to understand. Whatever we're thinking about moral issues, if people think differently than us, we cannot force them to think as you want. We have to recognize what they are thinking. Military commanders, including Nazi leaders or Argentine military juntas, they invoke moral values to systematically eliminate those considered enemies. That's their job. Generals had to kill people. That's their job. Political leaders launch wars alleging a moral imperative to protect their constituents. In Afghanistan, in Ukraine, in Israel, in Gaza, national leaders decide to start wars invoking the need to protect their community from the enemy. Business leaders are maximizing profit for shareholders. Whatever we think about it, that's what they do. And then we have to understand that incentive. The policy to using war to protect nations has created an enormous defense industry. AI now implement decisions to manage problems through war. That's why, yes, AI is neutral, but the decision to kill people is not neutral. And we are missing that part. That's why, for me, this discussion on how to manage international violence is critically important. And look the numbers of defense market. The US Department of Defense 2025 budget was $149.8 billion. How much we invest in peace? In 2025, European member state defense expenditure reached 381 billion. And the goal is to reach 5% of the EU GDP, which translates to 1 trillion. This is the investment on war. Where are the investment on peace? But there is no chaos. There is no chaos, just complexity. Okay. I have, and what we are trying to do without altering the international legal framework, we propose embracing AI and modern physics to model the complex functioning of the global order. That's the contribution of Nestor. To improve the world, we must reinvent check and balance using technology. That's the point. Instead to distract technology, use it. We need to use technology for the people, in particular for the state. We aim to protect, as the Pope stated, everyone, in particular the victims of war and massacre. That's the goal. And now let me support Sister Helen. That's for you, Helen, okay? Because how can people use the project to represent themselves? And that is not an academic problem. And we're exploring how to use new communication technologies to make academic findings more accessible. I discussed it because Nestor, so it's not it's academic work, it's an idea we are developing. Imagine that the project Nestor is doing could already answer the following prompt. What can the Pope do to stop war? And imagine the answer was, okay, the Pope, in a world with no global authorities, is the main global religious leader. Billions trust him. So the Pope mobilized a massive number of people, including religious, political, military, and business leaders, and they could stop war. That's the main idea. How to do that? How the Pope could mobilize millions of people. And I experienced it, coming to this meeting, the Pope power to mobilize. I took some friends who are doing Sarah Kullian, Manuel Barenboim, and Andrew Zuckerman. They are top world professionals working for the best fashion and technological companies. Those companies are experts to do the best act. And these guys, they offered to work pro bono to the Pope and have developed already a prototype that utilizes technology to connect the Pope with everyone. Let me show the prototype. What's the most one here? People join. The Pope is there, alive, live, and picture of the people joining him and appearing, start to appear. This is a rabbi talking against war. This is an imam talking against war. Ravi Shankar, a guru from India, Dalai Lama, president of South Africa, Chile, others. So people will appear while the minute is coming. So let me finish. Jeffrey Sachs alerted rightly that political and business leaders are part of the problem, but they could also be part of the solution, and that's the Pope's unique capacity. We don't change things just working with the good guys. No, history shows change comes when you connect people with totally different traditions, including, I said before yesterday, the end of traffic slave was opposed for some crazy reason for the British owner of slaves. So we should work with everyone, including Bezos and Elon Musk, whoever. And the Pope can do it. So, because the idea is we are all sinners. Let the Pope love rescue all of us. Thank you very much.